a lot of people say to me, well, why did you leave your job? And you don't even have kids with a disability. So why are you doing this for these kids? Why do you care so much about making these children feel included? And I just say back, well, I've got a very big heart and I want to create an inclusive world for my kids as well as their friends. And I want my girls to understand what it's like for people that may be a little bit different or, have different abilities.
You're listening to Elevate, the official podcast of Elite Agent for real estate industry sales professionals, property managers and leaders. We are proud to present Courageous Conversations, a podcast series focusing on the tough decisions people have made to put themselves on a pathway to success. This episode is brought to you by Connect Now, who makes the business of moving easier for both you and your clients. For more information, visit connectnow.com.au. Please welcome your host, Leanne Pilkington.
Hi everyone, Leanne Pilkington here with the latest Courageous Conversation, and this story is an absolute cracker. You are going to absolutely love Louise Larkin. Thank you so much for being here, Louise.
Thank you so much for having me, Leanne. It's such a pleasure.
So Louise started an organisation called Friend in Me, and I read the story. I don't even know whether it was online or in a magazine, and it really played on the heartstrings. And those of you who know me know I'm not the most emotional person in the family. That title belongs to Jackie Jones. But I just read it and I thought I have to share Louise's story. So Louise, tell me, Friend in Me, how did it start?
Absolutely. So my background is corporate events. So I spent a lot of my career in a very senior role. I was Associate Director of Sales and Events. So that was my background career-wise. And I was driving to work one day and listening to the radio as you do in the morning. And there was a mum in tears on the radio crying because she organised a party for her little boy and nobody turned up. And at the time, I know you can't even imagine.
No.
And I'm driving along and I thought, oh gosh, what if that was my little girl? That's really sad. How come nobody turned up? And this little boy was living with disabilities. So I thought, has he been excluded because of his disabilities? And I thought, I need to do something about this. This is not nice. And that's literally how it started. I rang a couple of girlfriends from my gym and I said, let's put on a little party for all the boys and girls that have never been invited to a birthday before or, had people not turn up.
And what did your girlfriends do? Just go, oh, Louise. Yeah.
Well, they know I love a good event. So they were all about it. They're like, yes, let's do it. So within 6 weeks, we, put together this really fun party.
Yeah.
We had things like, a popcorn stand and some kids entertainment, and we just did it at our local community hall. That was all through fundraising. So just fundraising and all through the beautiful community that gave all of their, services for free, which was lovely. And I remember I was setting up this event and we pulled it off in about 6 weeks at our little community hall. And I was inside and the doors were ready to open. And one of the girls comes and she goes, Lou, you have to see the line outside this door. I was like, what do you mean? Like, are people actually turning up? You know, when you have an event or your own birthday, you think, is anybody going to turn up? What if no one turns up?
Yeah, fancy having a party for a little boy where nobody turned up and nobody turns up to the...
Oh gosh, that would have been terrible. And we ended up having about 350 people at that first event. And I thought, oh, that's nice, and then, I went back to my corporate world and I did another one the following year and it grew to about 700. And I thought, you know what, something's really happening here. And then I had my second daughter. So I've got 3 beautiful girls and this was my second one. And I was on maternity leave and I started pushing more with Friend in Me. I started thinking more about the inclusion and the exclusion and looking more into children with disabilities and diagnoses of autism and all that sort of thing. And I said to my husband one day, I don't want to go back to my corporate world. He's like, well, don't. You know what men are like?
Yeah.
Well, don't. And here I am in tears. I'm like, but I have to. We have a mortgage. We have children. There's school fees. And, I'm carrying on as I do, probably still hormonal at this point. And he said to me, don't go back, Lou. If this isn't fueling you, then don't go back. And so I rang up and I resigned. And then I sat there and I've gone,
well, now what?
Okay, I've resigned now.
Yeah.
Now what do I do? But what that did was I then registered it as a charity and I started doing all these beautiful things, and the opportunities that then opened up for Friend in Me were amazing. You know, that feeling of, letting it all go and letting fate kind of take its course.
Yeah. So
I felt
what happened up to you when you got to that committed stage?
Well, once I got there, we started getting more corporate opportunities, corporate sponsorship. We started getting a lot of media at this point. Like, doors were just opening. The Project TV called me and they said, we've just seen your story and we want to do a story on this. And then I started doing really big events. So the last event that we could have pre-COVID, we had close to 3,000. We had just under 3,000 people. And it was a beautiful, inclusive, sensory-friendly environment where every child that walked through those doors had a purpose. They were welcome there. And that, I did little invitations that all the kids could put something on their fridge, because that's something so small that if a child's not getting an invite to something, we take it for granted if our kids are, but what if you are the child that's not, because you are living with differences and you're being misunderstood?
Yeah.
So that's how it all began. And that's how I took that leap. And I left a very secure job, very good money, to now I'm still a volunteer. So 3 years on, leaving my, very good salary, I'm still a volunteer.
Not just a very good salary and a senior role, but that it can play into your identity, right? Having a role at that level in a corporate organisation.
Yeah, it really does. And, I've always had a really big heart, and clearly, I don't have any children living with disabilities right now or any sort of diagnosis. A lot of people say to me, well, why did you leave your job and you don't even have kids with a disability? So why are you doing this for these kids? Why do you care so much about making these children feel included? And I just say back, well, I've got a very big heart and I want to create an inclusive world for my kids as well as their friends. And I want my girls to understand what it's like for people that may be a little bit different or, have different abilities. And why
it's such an important message. I loved what you said to one of your girls. You don't have to be friends with everyone, but you do have to be kind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's Giselle. And she questions a lot about things. So she's 5. So she's really at that age where she's like, Mummy, why is this and why is that? And she came to me one day, she said, Mummy, why doesn't this little girl from her kinder talk like we all do? And I explained to her, I said, well, she has some difficulties and she's got lots of doctors and lots of nurses that are supporting her and helping her talk. I said, but what does that mean for us? She goes, it still means that we can be friends. It still means that I have to be kind to her. And Giselle's just found this beautiful line, because now they're in school together. She can help her. She recognises that she needs to help her sometimes and support her if she feels like she isn't getting that support she needs right then and there, or can't understand something, to go and flinging around on the monkey bars and just being a kid with her.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful to see my girls, like this being instilled into my girls as well. So they understand that everybody comes from different walks of lives.
Yeah.
It's not even just disabilities, it's same-sex marriages. It's, adopted children. It's all of these things.
Anyone who's a little bit different.
Yeah, everybody. But it just means that we need everybody to be included, and everybody needs to be able to have that support and a purpose. I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways, is that all children, everybody, not just children, but, our organisation focuses on children at the moment, but we want to give them purpose, that they should be here, that they should be not entitled to just having a party, but entitled to having friendships, to having peers, to being able to go to the park. And even if they can't go down the slide, well, what else can they do there? Yeah. How are we building parks to make them feel included?
Wow, who'd have thought, right, that that one conversation that you heard on the radio would end up turning into this?
Yeah, I know. And I am so proud. And, I'm not going to lie. It's been really hard. We are up against some extremely large organisations that get very big government funding, lots of donations from the community. And, there's some days where I go, no, this is all just too hard. You know, I'm just going to go back to my corporate world and I'm going to just work for somebody and just life will be easy.
Yeah.
And then it's always at that point where I have that little moment where something else will come through. Like I'll get an award, or I'll get some more media approach me, or I get a beautiful parent call me and say, I just want to let you know what that virtual party meant to my child, or what that workshop meant to my child. And then all over again, I feel pepped up and happy again that I'm doing amazing things for the community.
Yeah, well, you certainly are. So you do workshops?
Well, we do sort of online social groups.
Yeah.
So a lot of our families come to us and say, you know, we are looking for my child, you know, she's 8 years old. She finds it very difficult to make friends. You know, she's living with this or whatever it may be. So we're just starting to do some online social groups that just build their confidence and build their resilience. I love the word resilience, but I don't like using it all the time. But that's what we're doing, and just giving them that, you know, those tools about how you can approach, or, you know, sometimes it's just one connection, albeit online at the moment, but sometimes it's just that one connection where they can walk away and go, you know what, Mum, that was really nice. I spoke to little Jackie and, you know, it was really nice connecting with her. And then all of a sudden they have, you know, some kind of purpose again.
Yeah.
So what we've really grown with COVID, because like I said, we had large events face to face. I'm a real connector. I'm a hugger. I want to hug people. I want to see people. I love expression. I love events. I love seeing it all. And then you think, you know, 2 years on, we haven't been able to do that, but we started doing virtual parties. So lots of virtual parties for just, you know, the everyday little boy and girl, but for a lot of sick children as well. So we've done.
It's actually probably better, right? They couldn't get to a real life event, so a virtual
definitely
event.
not. Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of kids who are sick in hospital, so, you know, they can't get out. And we've done over 700 virtual parties since this pandemic started. So lots of energy, lots of dancing. We have our characters, as I was saying, we have our Elsa, Superman, Supergirl, Batman, whoever we need. And we just connect like this via Zoom, and we have fun and we have a bit of a dance. And we get feedback from the family saying, you don't know what that meant to my child. Like right now, when they're feeling so tired, like we all are, and a little bit alone and reserved and going into a little bit of a shell. Like I've seen so many children going into a shell in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So we just want to be able to bring that out in them. So that's what we've been working on at the moment, which, you know, has been beautifully exhausting. Like
I can only imagine.
It's high energy, although I'm the lucky one. I'm not the one dressing up as a princess.
Yeah, I would love to dress up as a princess. I've even got a tiara just behind me because...
Oh, I think you'd make a perfect princess, maybe like a Princess Belle or something. I see you.
Some people might say I'm a bit of a princess already, but that's another conversation. So tell me, what's you said that what is next on the horizon for you is a training platform. Talk to me about what you're trying to achieve with that.
So what we're trying to do there is, I feel like a lot of community organisations and businesses, they just need a toolbox. They need a toolbox of, you know, it's all good to say we are inclusive, we promote inclusion. That's fabulous. But how do you do that? How would you behave, or how do you teach your staff or other families to behave if a little girl walks in with autism and she has a complete meltdown on the ground? Or if your little girl walks into your tool shop and she starts playing with everything. How do you behave if you can kind of read the signs that there might be something there?
Yeah.
So we would love to be able to build this platform that will be a web-based platform for now. My dream is to do face-to-face, and I want a party bus. I want an inclusion party bus. But that will come.
That sounds like
I don't know if anybody remembers, but when I was in primary school, we would have Harold, the health van that would drive around, and it's a big giraffe van. And I remember that. They'd come and check your teeth and your health.
Right.
But I just remember Harold the van. And I remember this, 30 years ago or so. And so I would love to have a big party bus. Like the Friendly Me bus is here. We're going to talk inclusion and we're going to talk about it.
That would be amazing.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
But for the start and the pilot, we'd love to build like a 3-4 module platform that you just click through, and you might have a champion in your business that just goes through it all and then filters it down to the team or the employees or lets the families know. So when these kids are coming into this organisation or your dance group, we would start small as we're rolling it out, but soccer club, Auskick, we just know how to behave. So we're not making not just a child, but the whole family feel excluded for whatever reason.
Yeah, totally.
How do we make sure that every single organisation has disabled toilets? How do we make sure of that? So if there is a little boy or girl that's in a wheelchair and would love to be part of this art group, but they can't because there's no disabled toilet, how do we make that happen? And it is so minor sometimes, but we would love to see that, and then it be badged. It would be badged in a friendly, me inclusive organisation. Yeah. So that's what I've been kind of twiddling my thumbs on in the last, couple of years during the pandemic. It's kind of, that's the silver lining, I think, with all that's going on at the moment is we had a little bit of time to stop and reflect and where to next and what is our plan? What are we going to do? I want to continue doing events because that is my thing. I love that. But there needs to be something more that we are changing things. Yep. We are changing the narrative. We are changing the way people think and react, because no child should be excluded and no child should be left behind just because they're living with differences. I think that's probably the key.
I couldn't agree more. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. So if anybody who's watching wants to connect and check out what you're doing and see if there's any skills that they can bring to help you bring your dreams to life, where will they find you?
So where you can, via social media, I'm always on there and about, but our website is www.friendinme.org.au.
Beautiful. It has been an absolute pleasure catching up with you and hearing your story, Louise. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Courageous Conversations with thanks to connectnow.com.au. Don't forget to get access to all of Elite Agency's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast. Visit joineliteagent.com.